Hello everyone, welcome back to the Analyst for 7th of December 2023, where we will be trying to understand the most important articles from the Hindu and the Indian Express. Now, looking at the table of contents, we find that the very first is regarding a special amount of parliamentary committee, that is known as special inquiry committees. Then we will be going to analyze a recent bill in the parliament, that is by the name of Central Universities Amendment Bill of 2023. In the next one, we will be looking at a recent initiative by the government of India to open up the private sector in the mining of critical minerals. In the next one, we will be looking at Garba of Gujarat being accorded a list under the UNESCO Heritage Intangible Cultural of India. Next, we will be finally wrapping up the session with Gemini AI model, which is a multimodal artificial intelligence project by Google. Now, in this article, we are seeing the context that a recent prominent member of parliament is facing an inquiry by the ethics committee of the parliament. This is a very significant case, and without going into the specific details of the case, we will be trying to understand what is the basis of the context here, what is the basics of the context and some of the detailed analysis. Now, this is very important in our parliament section of the syllabus, that is falling under GS2. Also, we have found that in 2018, a mains question appeared, a very basic one, that too. The question goes by, what do you think the committees are considered to be useful for parliamentary work? Discuss in this context the estimates committee. There are various committees under the ambit of the parliament, and also ambit of the two houses of the parliament, that is the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and it is asking about one of those committees, that is the estimates committee. So the lesson for you here is to pay proper attention to your statics portion of, say, your standard books, your notes, and here you have to be well aware of those concepts. Next, also in prelims, we find that they are asking you about another specific committee, that is Committee on Public Accounts, PAC committee. They are asking about you about the various aspects of the committee, and this is also one of the questions which is also repeated again and again, specifically from the parliamentary committee chapters. So let us pay very attention here. Now, beginning with the very basic, what is a committee to start with? See, committees are generally dealing with a particular set of issues. For example, there are various committees in agriculture which are actually chaired by, say, bureaucrats, senior officials. They look at various issues in the particular sectors, particular social issues, some political issues, and they recommend some of the way forward. Similarly, in parliament, we have the members of the parliament. They are our representatives, the people representatives, and they also do some parliamentary work and also some other works. So there are diverse amount of work in the parliament, and one of those very important component of the parliament is the parliamentary committees. They look into various matters of multidimensional issues, and here to define, you can use these particular definition in your introductions, and it is always better to go to the examination ready with such introductions and conclusions. So to define, a parliamentary committee is a committee of members of parliament who are elected or appointed from amongst the member of the house or nominated by the speaker or the chairperson. The speaker of the Lok Sabha, chairman of the Rajya Sabha. So we have come to understand that in this concise definition, we are telling who they are, where they are coming from, and who appoints them or say nominate them. The concept is very similar to the British Parliament, because this is a very old concept in the UK, because their House of Commons was actually prevalent during the medieval history of UK. And back then, the House of Commons used to have MPs, and they used to have these committees who used to discuss the various works of the kingdom, and that continued till now. And we actually borrowed this tradition from the UK, and this is also being followed till now. And they find their various issues their various recommendations and they submit these to their respective houses. Now, you may ask where is the origin of this particular provision. According to the Constitution, Article number 105, the power, privileges, etc. of the House of Parliament and of the members and committees is actually directly mentioned here. So we find the committee word being mentioned in the Parliament. Then, according to 118 article, each House of the Parliament may make rules for regulation subject to the provisions of the Constitution, its procedure and the conduct of its business. So this is an indirect reference to the committees again. So we find that the committees draw the relevance from the Constitution itself. Now, looking at the various amounts of parliamentary committees, there are generally of two types. Standing committees, which are kind of a permanent basis, which are appointed again and again on a yearly basis. And there are some temporary committees which are known as ad hoc committees. They are further divided, standing committees are further divided into financially standing committees, departmentary related standing committees, and so on. Ad hoc committees are further divided on the basis of their functions and advisory tendencies in the case of joint committees and select committees. Their broad functions are generally to review and scrutinize the work of the government. In cases of, say, the Rafale case, when it was very widely circulated in the news media regarding various, say, alleged irregularities in the Rafale deal, or with respect to the handling of the overall health infrastructure during the COVID-19 pandemic. So, time and again, they scrutinize the government's work. And this is one of those aspects when the executive is responsible to the legislature. Why? Because when these committees are scrutinizing the government's work, which is the executive work, and their reports are finally also submitted to the House, then the legislature or all the members of the parliament, they come to know about how the government is actually functioning. Next, we also have various department related standing committees, or also known as DSCs. They have various specializations on particular sectors of the government polity economy, such as agriculture, defense, energy. They look into the annual reports of these ministries. They look into the various aspects of finances, and the expenditures, and they also submit their reports to the government of the day, and they also submit their report to the parliament. Next, a very, very important function is they have the power to summon ministers and officials. By this we mean that during the 2G scam which took place, the parliamentary committees, they even summon the ministers, right? They can even summon the public officials, such as the senior bureaucrats, such as seniors IPS, IAS officers. They can summon them. Even in some cases where the private companies are involved in some wrongdoings, or say alleged wrongdoings, or sometimes even when, for example, the parliament feels like, or the committees feel like they can consult some private companies, they can also summon the private individuals too to appear, or say to appear in their hearing and solve some issues. And there is also a special committee, that is a committee on subordinate legislation, that looks into the various aspects of rules, orders, by the executive, and they are also scrutinized by this particular committee. So they have an effective grip on the matters of the day. They also looks into the various bills which are being introduced to the parliament, and sometimes what the parliament does for greater scrutiny, for greater recommendations, expert advice, they sometimes also refer the bills to these committees, and they also examine the bills throughout. They examine clause by clause and by clause, because sometimes it is not possible for the entire parliament to discuss the entire bill, or say bills, detailed manner. So that is why these committees also look into these matters. Then they make recommendations. They present their findings to the House, and then it will be up to the parliament to decide. So here we need to look at a very special committee here, which is known as Ethics and Privileges Committee. Now, what is the role of the Ethics Committee? By the very name we can understand it looks into the ethical conduct of the members of parliament in the House, or also in matters related to the House, or also in matters related to the member of the Parliament. Here it was actually it is actually very recent one. It was constituted in 2000 to oversee the moral and ethical conduct of the members, because we know that they are the members of the Parliament, they have to be ethical. That is why there is a particular committee to look into their unethical conduct in or outside the House too. The term ethical, however, is not defined. Even in life we understand that morals and ethics is very difficult to define, but here, since they will be deciding, deliberating on ethical or unethical conduct, they also need to define it. Don't you think that? But it is so far not defined yet, and it examines complaints as to filed against the members of the House by other members of the House. They also look into the matters of outsiders through a member. If a member of Parliament is filing a complaint against an outsider person, or sometimes the speaker, sometimes the chairman, they also can refer the case to the ethics committee. And when these particular matters are referred to this ethics committee, they prima facie, or say on the face of it, they conduct an inquiry of their own. They conduct various fact gathering exercise, they gather evidence of the unethical conduct, and it presents its report to the speaker, who then lays it before the House for entire members of Parliaments to consider. Then they will be deciding whether or what the consequences would be to the member of the Parliament. Now it is also very important to understand that during the prima facie inquiry, it is left to the committee to determine whether a particular act by the MP or outsider or any of these cases cited here, whether they are ethical or not. So they are kind of having an authority on the ethical conduct. Now there is a very special case under ethics committee that is known as the special inquiry committee, and that comes into action when a particular member of the Parliament have breached their privileges, or when they are alleged to breach their privileges. Now we understand that by the virtue of being an MP, the members of the Parliament have many privileges, such as they cannot be arrested under certain grounds, they cannot be made to appear in a jury discussion, and so on. They have many immunities, and these immunities are very important for their freedom of speech, for the protection of their rights, or say when the government of the day may take so many actions against them, and so on. So there are various reasons as to why the privileges are given to the MPs, and there can be some cases when the MPs can breach those privileges. For example, in this particular very case of concern here, let us understand an example here. Let there be a company A and company B, and both companies are rivals between themselves, right? And company B has a friend who is the member of the Parliament. Now company B is very jealous of company A's profits and its closeness to the government of the day. Company B is not that friendly to the government of the day, or maybe it is not in that financial capacity to be in a profitable condition. So apart from competing with company A on say business grounds, company B can go through a different way. Company B can ask the MP friend, right, that I will give you money, you do one thing, you raise questions in the Parliament regarding company's A's closeness to the government. Is it clear? Company B can do this unethical conduct via an MP who will be given money to appear or sit in the House and ask questions. Now asking questions is not a bad thing, but when you are taking money, don't you think it is unethical? So people who agree with me or say can disagree with me on this, they please leave a comment in the comment section below. But here it is of the general opinion that you cannot, being the virtue of an MP, because you are the member of the Parliament, you cannot take a bribe, you cannot take money. and ask questions thereof to the parliament. And that is a serious breach of privilege. Because you are an MP, you are enjoying the privileges that you cannot be arrested, for example. That's why you are asking, say, questions in the parliament. And also, since your party, the MP's party is also in opposition to the ruling, government's parties, that is also another case of concern. If you are taking money and asking questions in the parliament, right? It is a sacred, it is a temple of democracy. So you cannot take money and, ask questions there in this manner. And let me tell you, all these are so far allegations. It is for the parliamentary or say ethics committee to prove it with evidence. Now, this special inquiry committee examines those more serious accusations here. For example, in 1951, there was a case when business interests were put in the parliament by giving money in return in the same way. And again in 2005, there was another case when this cash for query scam took place, where 10 MPs of the Lok Sabha were recommended for expulsion from the house. Now, when we are talking about expulsion, is expulsion constitutional? Expulsion is not mentioned in the constitution, right? The word expulsion is not mentioned in the constitution, or the grounds thereof is also limited to these particular things, right? According to Article 101, the grounds for vacation of a seat by an MP is the following. Expulsion is not the word. The vacation of a seat is the word. So please mind these small details for prelims. So it said that a member can have a voluntary resignation on his or her own. They can be disqualified based on Representation of People Act 1951, or if the member or the MP is continuously absent from the house for 60 sittings, they can be considered as vacant. Now, Supreme Court have had different views on this particular thing. In the Vajiram case of, say, 2007, it upheld the parliament to expel its members for the breach of privilege by construing the Article 101 as having expulsion as one of the grounds. But the conflicting case of Amarinder Singh 2010 came when the expulsion by the State Assembly was constituted as unconstitutional, because it can be a case where the state legislative assembly or the parliament, they can have a political party who is the majority, and they can refer this case to the ethics committee, and then a special inquiry committee will be taking place against a member who is from an opposition party. So don't you think that like this many MPs will be targeted from the opposition parties and they can be expelled? That is why the Supreme Court took a of later recent decision of 2010 that it is unconstitutional according to the parliamentary democratic ethos. Now, how to solve this particular thing? Now here we have to understand that these privileges of the house is a medieval tradition of the British tradition, and we have to understand this is very, very important for the MPs' freedom of speech and rights in the house. And that is why privileges are all right. They can continue. They have no issues with that. But allegations of cash for query are serious, right? And we have to understand expulsion by the particular, say, ethics committee or say by the house whatsoever is not a solution, because can you imagine a situation if the particular MP is expelled from the house, then the constituency, right, will be falling vacant up till the next elections, or say up till the by-elections. So till then the constituency will not be having any MP. Then we have to understand the parliamentary committee proceedings are not as detailed as the judicial cases, because they are not bound by the Evidence Act. So evidences gathered are not admissible under the Evidence Act. So there is also a cause of concern. But here, yes, we have a solution. The best way forward is to set a fast-track course for such MPs to expedite the cases. They will be, say, hearing the cases, and within 60 days they will be passing an order or judgment. If they are convicted, they will be disqualified according to the RPA. As simple as that. If not, they cannot be expelled. So this is a very, very simple way to go ahead in this matter. The next is about the Central Universities Amendment Bill of 2023, where it is seeking to establish a central tribal university in Telangana, and it will be named Samakka Sarakka Central Tribal University. This particular issue is very important for prelims because it is having a brief history, and I have included some of the history information here. Apart from that, GS2 also have various government policies for the various sections of the population. Here, we are talking about the scheduled tribal sections of the population because this is a particular university set up for their own betterment. Then we also look at the various issues and development related to the education sector, which is also our interest here. Now, let me give you a very brief background of this particular decision by the government to introduce a Central Universities Amendment Bill to set up a tribal university. Now we know that during 11th to around 13th century Common Era, there was a kingdom of Kakatiyas of Varangal. The very important cities, ports are mentioned here. Do definitely look out this because since it is in news, there is a high probability of these towns and cities being asked in the question, also related to the kingdom. So what happened? There was a wonderful lady named Samakka who married a feudal chief of the Kakatiyas. She had 2 daughters and 1 son. One of the daughters is named Sarakka, then another daughter is Nagulamma and Jampanna. The mother and the daughters and the son, they fought a severe or say fierce battle, very serious battle against the authorities, against the imposition of taxes. And that is why, and they also lost their lives and they sacrificed their lives. That is why in that local area where they were actually located, and the Koya tribals, they revere these individuals till now. They see these individuals as inspiration and inspiration against the standing against the authorities. So since then, they are holding a very special fair festival in their memories, right? They revere that Sarakka, Samakka, they became a vermilion casket, and that is why in this particular region they celebrate in this manner. The Samakka Saralamma Jatara is that festival which is celebrated at Mulugu district of Telangana, which is also known as the Kumbh Mela of the tribals, because it is Asia's largest tribal fair and it is celebrated over 4 days every 2 years. So let us also note this information for our prelims. Very important facts. Now, the particular event or this particular festival is very significant politically and also socially. Various leaders of say the state governments, even of the national government, they come and visit these particular festivals, and we understand the center also gives funds for community shelters and other infrastructure. And also it is being stated that the development of the tribal circuit will be followed under the Swadesh Darshan scheme, and this particular area will also be included because this is a very significant thing because it is Asia's largest tribal festival. And here let us also look at the Swadesh Darshan scheme here. See, it is a particular scheme to improve the infrastructure at various tourism hotspots across the country, and there are more than 500 destinations, and you can see the particular circuits that we have, that is the Buddhist, coastal, desert, eco circuit, heritage circuit, and so on. And we are also trying to include the tribal circuit which is located here and this particular festival under this, so that more and more foreigners, more and more tourists, they come and appreciate the wonderful diversity of India. And here another important fact is the location and the names of the tribal circuit, also the proposed tribal circuit in this region. You can look at the names here. These names are also given in the handouts. You please look at these names and try to revise these names because they can be asked. And particularly these Bogota waterfalls, this is also very important particularly for Indian geography. Now, the key highlights of this particular bill, we have to understand that the background of this bill traces back to the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act of 2014, when the state of Andhra Pradesh was broken into, or say divided into, or say reorganized into Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. And here, one of the clauses, one of the agreements between Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and the center was that the center will be helping both of the governments to set up a central tribal, or say a tribal university under the central government, because these two states have a large amount of tribal populations and the governments of the day want to do better for them. That is why we need a central university for their betterment, and that is why this particular university is being set up. And the name of the university signifies that it is totally synonymous with the tribal education. And we have to understand and appreciate the fact that STs on a national level need empowerment, because education levels among them is not to a satisfactory level. So that is why we need to promote this, and we have to understand that this also will be catering to regional aspirations, because there are right now around 57 central universities in the entire country, and most of the central universities, they are located in prominent cities, in some metro cities, tier 1, tier 2 cities, even in some tier 3 cities too, but not so prominent among say rural areas and especially among the tribal areas. So this is a very, very welcome move where these universities will be set up, where the tribal people can go and they can become educated, and by education we mean higher education. So they will be able to pursue bachelor's, master's, even pursue PhD degrees and postdoctorate degrees too. So they will be also catering to the local employment, local research and development. It will be also fighting discriminations. Of late we are seeing that there are many reports in the news which are coming out of discrimination at IITs, IIMs, where many students belonging to SC and ST communities, they are committing suicides. So this is not a very good way to go, and that is why we need more and more local regional universities. This will be also combating discrimination and bringing the tribal population to the mainstream. Then it will be providing higher education and research facilities, and this will be promoting the gross enrollment ratio, the number of PhDs per lakh population, and this will be improving the overall research scenario of the entire country. In the next one, we are looking at a very prominent development, because 20 blocks of critical minerals across 8 states of India, from which Tamil Nadu is accorded kind of one of the highest share, and so Bihar is on the list, which are currently on auction for commercial mining for the private sector. Because we understand mining is a very important economical activity. It is belonging to the secondary sector and providing employment to a lot of local people. So mining is a very important economic activity. Apart from mining, we are not mining coal, we are not mining oil. These are ordinary things. We are mining now critical minerals. Now let us understand what are critical minerals. This is very important to understand under GS1, where we have key natural resources across the world, including India. Also under GS3, we need to study about infrastructure, particularly regarding the energy aspect. Okay. Now, critical minerals are very, very important in our day-to-day lives. You do not even know, or maybe are not even aware of how right now critical minerals are helping you via watching this video. Because you are watching the video via your mobile phone, laptops, which are powered by batteries. And do you know where right now modern batteries are coming from? They are coming from lithium. They are coming from lithium, and lithium is one of those critical materials. Why? Because lithium is used to manufacture batteries and also used in the manufacture of semiconductors and electronic integrated circuits and so on. They are very precious, they are highly precious in such electronic goods. For example, if I give you some of the cases, lithium is used to create batteries, helium is used in MRI scans, that is very important for medical diagnosis. Uranium is used for radiation therapy. Potash is used as fertilizers in the agriculture. Iridium is used in LCD screens. Strontium is used in fireworks. So, across every sector, every industry, these critical materials are very important. And if we look at the rankings of, say, importance of the usage of these critical minerals, we find that telecommunications and electronics is at the very first. They are the highest users of critical materials. Right now, if I talk of electronic vehicles, their batteries run on lithium, right? It is very important to have a good amount of batteries, very reliable and fast charging lithium batteries. So that is why we are understanding that critical materials are not only useful our consumption or say technological aspects, but also very important related to environment too. Because more and more electronic vehicles, more and more use of batteries, even in some cases hydrogen batteries, solar energy which uses various batteries are powered by lithium itself. The energy is being stored here. So that is why we have to understand that energy sector is also very important. Defense and security is also using lithium or say critical materials in large numbers, because we know we need various guided missiles and various amounts of fighter jets, submarines, where we use sensitive equipments. Then here also critical materials are used. Aerospace, transportation and all those sectors where you cannot avoid critical minerals right now. Also, let me add another dimension here. When we are talking about critical materials, we also are talking about India's competency in this particular matter. We know China is progressing far ahead due to its manufacturing ability, due to its economic ability to say influence other nations, and also China is increasingly signing agreements, pacts with various African countries, Afghanistan and many of the rest of the world, where they are finding critical materials. Even in the South American continent, where there are many countries who are having large amount of critical minerals, China is right now signing in agreements with them. So it is very important that India also keep a track of its own resources. And here, if we come back to the definition of critical mineral, it is very critical, particularly in the case of supply shortage, because we understand that reserves of lithium, then potash, iridium, then strontium, they are of very rare occurrence. And generally, if also there are huge amount of resources or say huge amount of mines regarding them, they're not very easy to recover. So that is why we have to understand that there is kind of a supply shortage here. And also its impact on the economy is huge. So the combined effects of low supply and also high impact on economy makes it very critical, and it is essential for the economic development and national security, right? The lack of availability, the concentration of extraction, the processing in a few geographical location, these are one of those significance of this particular critical minerals. Because you have to understand that these essential minerals are used in most of the sophisticated devices in the entire country and also in the entire world. And their lack of availability is causing a kind of a problem. And they are also linked, say, across entire the world. For example, say if an iPhone is produced, right, it is produced not only in one country, it is being manufactured, it is being assembled, it is being designed in various countries. And these critical minerals are very a part of the raw material of iPhones. So we have to understand that there is a particular supply chain entire the world regarding each and every component of the iPhones, say the battery, say the motherboard, say the other touch screen and so on. They all use some critical minerals, or the other. So that is why we have to understand this is very, very important, particularly for the supply chain vulnerability. Right? So these are all the significance of critical minerals. Now government of the day have taken many steps to promote the mining, excavation and discovery of the critical minerals. The very first is through various policy reforms in the MMDR Act, that is the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act of 1957, which was amended time and again to pave the way for development of critical minerals. It was amended in 15, 20, 21 and recently in this year too. Also the government has a new auction regime where the mining licenses are also given to the private sector. Generally since liberalization, mining is being opened more and more to the private sector because private sector has more innovation. They are having better technology. Some also bring in foreign investment via FDI. So, and also they are profit oriented. That means they are very, very efficient in utilizing the mines too, and they reduce the wastage too. So they are very, very important while we are considering the development of the critical minerals. So the granting of mining licenses to private sector have been introduced. Then also we find a new term that is known as composite licenses. Generally, when a project is given, it means that a particular person has to go and excavate plus also mine, right? Plus also explore. Now, generally a mining license means that a mine is already located. That means we know there is particular amount of lithium found in the Jammu and Kashmir region. We have found that, we have the evidence, and now we can give license to the private sector to exploit that. But a composite license means a private individual can have a license of doing this all. They can themselves go to the particular place and explore, and once they have found, they can mine and excavate the same. Right? So composite license is a good way to attract the private sector to carry out your own exploration. Now there also have been collaboration between the public and private sector via a National Mineral Exploration Trust, which is looking at the exploration of the critical mining through the private agencies with the government. So it is also having the private sector's innovation and technology and so on. Then the MMDR Act is also facilitating mining by including a provision of the exploration licensing for deep-seated and critical minerals. And deep-seated generally can be found at, say, river beds, sea beds, and also deep beneath the underground, which need a particular amount of technology. Then the latest amendment is also empowering the central government to auction mines and promote the production of 26 minerals in India. So this is the way the government have been taken. Also, to boost the benefits of this particular mining to the state governments and to the local people at the very local level, the government is also making sure that the revenues out of the mining is finally also procuring to the, say, local Gram Sabha, municipality and so on, because they are also a part of the local resources. So let they also get a share of the revenues. And this is very, very important for the local state government resources too. This helps to build their financial discipline. Now, the significance of the latest announcement is that a total 20 blocks is having a total value of 45,000 crore spread over 8 states. And this is the first time when mining of lithium ore is being mentioned or say auctioned to the private parties. Other minerals that are present in this particular project is nickel, copper, molybdenum and rare earth elements. Now here, the significance for India is that India imports 100% of its lithium and nickel. If we look, as of financial year 2023, India imported around 2000 tons of lithium carbonate and lithium oxide at the tune of around 700 crores. Lithium carbonate can give only 19% of lithium. Lithium oxide can give only 29% of lithium after conversion of these ores into lithium, pure lithium. And India, if they can find lithium in their own territory, it is better to mine them and not import them, or say not being reliant on rest of the world. And we have to understand this is very, very important for India's energy security, because China is increasingly grasping its tentacles on the rest of the world. So this is very, very important for India to capitalize on this. India can also reduce the import dependence on the rest of the world. India can create more and more regional development, especially in states of Bihar, where there is a lot of multidimensionally poor people according to a recent MPI index. They need more and more employment, right? They can provide better regional development by building better infrastructure also, by building better roads, better transport, better airports, better roads and highways and ports and so on. Because these critical minerals, they need to be transported to the industries too. So it will be bringing in better regional development, particularly for the eastern side of India. It will be also building up the environmental security, because India is aspiring to become net zero emitter of CO2 like emissions by 2070. So it is expected that the development of critical minerals will be aiding India in the same. So these are all the significance and these are all the benefits for India in this particular manner. In the next one, we find that the Garba dance, the Garba tradition of Gujarat is having a significant achievement right now. It is being included to the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage list. This is very important for prelims paper 1 for art and culture aspects and also current events of national and international importance. Now, let us understand what is intangible heritage at first. See, intangible, the word intangible means that it cannot be touched, right? Tangible is something we can touch and feel. Intangible, you cannot touch, right? But there are some cultural practices, expression, knowledge, skills and instruments that various individuals, communities and groups for ages and ages hence they have practiced, and that is becoming an inherent cultural practice of those local people. If I take the case of Durga Puja, we all know that this is a very popular event that is celebrated in West Bengal, particularly during the months of September to October, depending on the calendars. Now, this festival is very, very special in the particular state, where people from far away, right, local people, outsider people, from wherever they are, they come back to the city to enjoy the 5 to 6 days of Durga Puja. And the feeling, the atmosphere, the amount of cultural richness that you can experience in Kolkata during Durga Puja is totally unparalleled. While it is being celebrated in Delhi, in New York even, but you cannot get that feel of Durga Puja at Kolkata. So, in the same manner, when Garba is being awarded awarded the recognition of a UNESCO tag, heritage tag, it is being accorded that amount of intangible heritage that this particular state enjoys with reference to the origins of Garba and the celebration of Garba in the state of Gujarat. So we have to understand this is the significance of intangible heritage. It is non-physical, but it is yet very, very important for that culture. And this is generally being passed from generation to generation. Some of the examples of intangible heritage are oral traditions such as folk tales, proverbs, song, dances, rituals, performing arts such as music, theatre, dance, puppetry, social practices and rituals and festival events. Then there are knowledge and practices, traditional craftsmanships. So you need not memorize them all, don't worry regarding this. I am just telling you that these are the examples of intangible heritage. It is not only say a festival like Durga Puja or a dance and song and tradition like Garba. It can be a story also, it can be theatre also, it can be various traditional amounts of agriculture also. If I take the case of
Pokkali rice. This is also an indigenous amount of rice that is grown in regions of Kerala, right? So this is a traditional way of practicing rice where the farmers, they let the shrimps to graze the rice or say the paddy fields, and the shrimps excreta serves as the fertilizer for the rice. So this is a cultural practice. This has been practiced by the people of Kerala. So this is also that portion of intangible heritage. Now, in India, we have the Ministry of Culture who has appointed the Sangeet Natak Academy to act as a nodal office of designated or preparation of the list of nominations for the UNESCO Intangible Heritage List. And here, the Garba is a recent addition to the list. Apart from Garba, we have these amount of various traditions across India, which are also on the list. So your duty is to check all these names from the handout and do revise it again and again for prelims, because it has been awarded in 2023. So in 24 prelims, they can ask regarding Garba or regarding any of the events mentioned here, such as Kutiyatam from, it is a Sanskrit theatre, the tradition of Vedic chanting, Ram Leela, Ramman, Chow dance, Kalbelia, and so on. Please go on to look after all these particular names and their location, which are also given here. Now, the final article is regarding the multimodal AI technology or the artificial intelligence technology, which Google just released, and it is expected that ChatGPT, which is also having its own AI model, it will be facing a new competitor in Google's Gemini. Gemini is a recent multimodal AI. And here, let me talk you through some very basics. Now, look at these various pictures. See, this is a musical note. Those of you who have practiced music since your school, they can be familiar with these notes. These are actually known as musical notes. So you can do what? You can ask Gemini that could you explain what this means? It can totally translate the musical notes and give you a text representation of the same. So it will be helpful for people who are just learning the musical notes. Then you can ask Gemini that can you show me ideas what to make from these two cotton yarns or say wool yarns. It will give you a very good real life picture of a particular doll you can make out of these yarns. Then you can also ask that could you make a demo based on this video? It will generate a code for you. Now, can you differentiate this with ChatGPT? All of those who have used ChatGPT, we know that we can, type in questions and it will be giving us a complete answer. But here, we are using images, we are using particular real life things and getting ideas from that. We are using videos and we are often using music and getting our answers. That is the case of multimodal artificial intelligence, that we can use text, images, charts, and so on to generate the thing that we or say the result that we want. So here, apart from a single data type, which is a single or say single modal AI model, right? We are getting a diverse amount of data from the multimodal artificial intelligence model. It can understand different types of information all at the same time and can help us make better decisions. And here, the potential use cases for UPSC aspirants, let me tell you at the very beginning, because we are a community, right? We will be always looking at our own benefits first. So you can go on to Google Bard or ChatGPT or anywhere, particularly using multimodal AI, and you can ask questions key regarding your notes, regarding your PYQs, right? And you can get good answers related to that. But yes, do not rely on the answers. Do cross verify it again, because there can be errors, as Google and ChatGPT they also say. But here you can utilize the particular information or say particular text, images, and so on for your own benefits. Then you can also get personalized education. As UPSC aspirants, you can understand, if you're getting this benefit, then teachers can also curate the content for, say, students who wants to, say, have tailor-made education for them. Then there will be smarter homes and cities where there will be self-driving cars and so on. So we need a better amount of artificial intelligence that can process text, images, and also real life scenarios, such as if there is a self-driving car, right? We need better sensors, but also we need cameras to evaluate the particular scenario in front of the car, if there are more people in front, or if there are more pedestrians, or say cars or trucks. To avoid accidents, we need AI, but that of a multimodal type. Then healthcare, doctors can use AI, particular AI powered cameras, to scan, say, the patients, to diagnose them of particular diseases and so on. Then there can be various immersive technologies such as AR, VR, realities, where AI can be used to create fascinating amount of entertainment opportunities. And finally, it can also look at scientific discoveries, particularly when we are thinking of going beyond our own universe and studying the various mysteries after the Big Bang via the James Webb Space Telescope. We can feed in those images to the AI and we can train that data to give us better outcome, or say the better amount of results apart from a normal single use AI. So this was all for today. I thank you all for being a very patient audience. All the best for your endeavors till we meet again. Thank you.